So was that a little scary right there when you first started to consider this idea? When minds are joined, thoughts are shared, and these thoughts, even that thought that I had, that one that I'm not gonna talk about, even that one, we're joined in that. And so I'm not actually saying that people are walking around reading our minds. What I'm saying, and what the Course is saying, is that every thought we have goes out to touch the rest of life in some way or other. So not the exact phrasing that's in our mind, not the exact images, but all of the feeling that is attached to those thoughts. Now, fragments are shared at various levels also, and that's why I brought up the idea that when the phone rings and you know who it is, right? That you thought of you had an idea for an invention or some solution, and all of a sudden there you see it. And so people always have said, well, when you get an idea like that, go to work right away because it's coming. Somebody, because that thought is present. So there's an old saying that an idea whose time has come, right? An idea whose time has come, and these ideas are shared across all of life, and it's just another piece of evidence. It's not proof now, and I was very careful when I worded the meditation. I didn't say that this was proof that minds are joined. I'm just saying that it's evidence, and I offer it for your consideration. It's okay with me whether you believe it or whether you don't believe it. I'm telling you I believe it, and it's up to you whether you decide that you do. But it is, of course, it is linked to the lesson 19 in the Course in Miracles, which is today's lesson. That minds are joined, and so it is the counter to the idea that we are isolated, and that we are cut off from, and that we are on our own and alone, and making our way through a tough life in a harsh world, that we are really all connected. That we're really all connected, and that we are sharing at some level. We are sharing all of these thoughts. So I was just looking at the text, at the Course in Miracles text, that kind of matches up where your reading would be if you were, on this lesson today. And there's a subheading in here that says Miracles as True Perception. Now we'll talk a little bit about this because we really are. I don't know if we could put a banner up or something, but really we are a miracle-minded church, a miracle-minded church. And what I mean by that is not that we're caught up in magic tricks, but the idea of a miracle being a change in the way that something is seen, that something is perceived, that where before we saw danger, where before we saw upset, where before we saw some situation where there seemed to be some kind of threat, that we go from a perspective of fear to a perspective of love. That this is the miracle that we're talking about here, and that every day we have these, everything that happens can actually be an opportunity to experience a miracle by changing that perception. So there's the first idea that's presented here is this idea that we have in our minds that we are guilty. We have it at a conscious level somewhat, but at a subconscious level it's very present. This idea that we are guilty. There's something, we are of course less than, that there are a lot of problems with us, and that if people really knew what we thought, all of these kind of things are in our minds. We have guilt and shame, and of course this is all generated by what Freud called the superego, the uber ego, the uber I, the big I, that has all of the rules in it. And you know, it's really funny. I mean, all the rules, all the societal type of rules are in it, but they're many times overblown and exaggerated, and then we've added in some other ones of our own, and that's the kind of, this is like the guilt generator in us. And first we need to understand that it's really a fragment of us, but it's illusory. It's not real. But it keeps telling us that we are on the wrong track, that we've done wrong, and that we should be ashamed, and we're not doing enough. All of these things keep coming to us. And the fact of the matter is, we are not guilty. In spirit, we are not guilty. We are innocent. And this is a statement that the ego just does not want to accept at all. But see, if we accept it for ourselves, it allows us to accept it for others. And here's then where we really have a problem, because we would like to be innocent. We would actually, I mean, that's attractive for us to be innocent. But we make it very difficult on ourselves to give that same innocence to others, because we get caught up in observing their failings. The reason we get caught up in observing their failings is because it's more uncomfortable for us to observe our own. The miracle is when we see that all of those failings are just things that we made up in our mind. I'm not saying we're not experiencing them. I'm just saying even though we're experiencing them, they are not real, in the sense of the ultimate reality of spirit. So it says here, innocence is not a partial attribute. It is not real until it is total. The partly innocent are apt to be quite foolish at times. It is not until their innocence becomes a viewpoint with universal application that it becomes wisdom. So of course what it's saying there is, if we go around with this thought in mind that all of our judgments are incorrect and we're just going to deny them, and just go around saying, well, everybody's innocent, so nothing bad is happening, but we really haven't accepted it at a deep level, that we end up with a lot more problems in our lives. Because it turns into a really inappropriate kind of denial. So he goes on, he says, innocent or true perception means that you never misperceive and always see truly. More simply, it means that you never see what does not exist and always see what does. So it can be kind of confusing to just read the text unless you're doing the lessons. But the idea is, what's real is that we are all part of God. We are all God's children. And God actually sees us as His perfect children. We see it otherwise. So what I'm putting, again, everything I say up here, I want you to remember the things that I said at the beginning. I'm giving you my perspective. I'm presenting some ideas to you. It's okay if you don't agree. It's fine. You can even talk about not agreeing, after I'm done. But what I'm saying is that I'm saying that from my perspective, this is the truth. That we are all part of this one creation, and that in reality, we are not at odds. It is only in our ego minds that we have set up these divisions and have put ourselves in conflict with each other. So for tomorrow, this lesson for tomorrow starts off with, I'm determined to see. I'm determined to see. I'm going to talk a little bit about the coming week because I think it's really important. We are not forced to do anything. This is like the Course in Miracles starts off with a statement that says this is a required course. Only the time you take it is up to you. What it's saying is not that you're going to be forced to take it. It's saying that just naturally what's going to happen is eventually you're going to do these things. What's up to you is when you decide to do it. So it's really important to understand that there is no coercion going on here. Nobody's being forced to do anything. We can decide for happiness. We can decide for suffering. It's totally up to us. And this is a really important point is the idea of responsibility. I get to decide what I'm going to do, how I'm going to act, and more than that, I get to decide what I'm going to think and how I'm going to feel. And all of these things are up to us, and nobody's forcing anything on us. And when we start to get this idea in mind, then we can actually stop blaming people, circumstances, and events for anything unfortunate that may happen to us. We can also stop blaming ourselves, because the thing that, well, I'll get into that. If we say that we want the best, what we're looking for is we want the best, and sometimes we'll be altruistic and want the best for us and the best for others. We say that we want the best and then choose less than that, we're just deceiving ourselves. Right now, what's going on right now is we really are getting in our lives what we're ordering. We're actually ordering the things that we're getting in our lives. Now, that's not to say that, and I'm not trying to assign fault. The things that are happening to us are happening. But what we do with the things that happen make all the difference in how we feel about it and our life experience. Not to say that random events aren't going to continue to occur, because they are. But it is all going to depend upon what we do with those things. So we can change our minds. And when we change our minds, our experience changes. But this takes some discipline. But it's not that hard. There's just this idea that I'm going to continue to remind myself when I'm uncomfortable, when things are happening that I wish were not happening, when I seem to be in danger or I'm in the midst of a bunch of bad things happening, I continue to remind myself I can see things differently. I could see this differently. And not only could I see it differently, but I'm determined. I'm making a decision. I'm going to apply some will. I'm going to say, let me see it differently. And then coming to a new state of mind is just a natural occurrence when we start to do that. So the difference itself, I'm determined to see things differently. I'm going to apply this idea to specifics. When things each person, each situation that seems to be causing anger or distress can be examined. It doesn't really matter whether they seem to be evoking just a slight annoyance or whether they're really making me upset. It's all the same. They are all really the same. Suffering comes from this upset. Actually, the suffering is the upset itself. Anger is felt within and then projected out. Internal disturbance looks for external justification. So anytime I start to get myself upset, I look outside to try to figure out what's causing this upset. What is this? What's this? And not just, this is not happening just at some conscious level. It's kind of an automatic mechanism that's occurring. That when I'm upset, I look for justification for that upset. Really what's going on is, when I'm upset, I'm very upset with myself. I don't want to be upset with myself. I don't want to look at that. I don't want to, because if I'm upset with myself, I do know that if I'm upset with myself, I actually have the ability to change either the perspective or that which I am upset about. If I really am doing something that that is upsetting me, I can stop doing that. But if I'm just upset because I have misperceptions, if I'm just upset because I have some beliefs that are erroneous, I also have come to understand that I can change those. So when I'm upset, I know that with some determination, with some discipline, with a little bit of willingness, I can change those things that I'm upset about. That's too much work. I'd rather blame you. I'd rather blame somebody else for my upset. And again, not consciously, I don't say to myself consciously, oh yeah, well, I'd rather blame this person or that person. It's just, that's the tendency. That's where this mechanism takes me. So the condition is so intolerable that I try to find evidence that all of my problems are caused by people, circumstances, and events. But I want to be aware. I want to be aware that the upset is just a smokescreen. It's just something that, it's a smokescreen that is obscuring what is really going on. and then I want to be determined to see it differently. I want to correct my sight. I want to see that all of my judgment is an attack on the world. That anytime I'm making these judgments, I'm attacking the world. And then what I know is that when I attack the world attacks back. This is the lesson that says all I see is a form of vengeance. That because I'm upset and I project out onto the world, I naturally expect that the world is going to respond back with another attack. So I get caught up in this. Buried within this belief system is the thought that we're continually under attack, and therefore we have to defend ourselves. Everything, you just think about all the ideas about security, about being safe, about doing all these things to provide the security are based on this idea that we live in a dangerous world and we need to protect ourselves. Now, I am not suggesting that we stop taking care of ourselves because we are not we don't just automatically just lay down outside in the snow thinking that we're going to be fine. You know, we do need to do these things. It's just like what the Course says about it says that you really don't need medicine to get better, but as long as you believe in the medicine, take the medicine. The whole idea is the change in belief system has to come first before we release all of these defenses that we've built up. This process is about just recognizing that we have built up the defense systems so that we can start to do something about them. So we believe that we have to defend ourselves, and these beliefs are justified every time we look at the material world. So when we've talked about it many times, you turn the TV on and watch what's going on television, and you know that it's dangerous out there. But what we don't realize in our minds is that together we have been conspiring to create what we see on the television that scares us. We're all in this together. And we'd say, oh no, it's those generals in Burma that are causing this suffering. It's the radicals over here. But what I'm saying is that minds are joined. We are all connected, and we are all cooperating in one way or another with all of these ugly things that we then turn on the TV to observe. So it seems quite clear that that in the world we're in danger. The facts are just slightly different. That since we project our anger out onto the world takes vengeance. We've set up the cycle, it continues. We must in turn respond to the vengeance. The cycle is set and continues to repeat. So what we want to do is to make an attempt to break the pattern. Very simple. We can't just decide, okay, we're going to change the world, now there's going to be world peace. At a conscious level, we just decide for world peace. That's not how it's going to happen. How it starts is we say to ourselves, this is not the world that I want to see. This is not the picture that I want to see. That's all we have to do, to start. We just have to say it, that we don't want to see things this way. That's all that's required. And then the surrender, begins. To take all of our previous decisions that we want to correct sight and move into action. The world of danger that is apparent as we defend ourselves is the world we want to escape from. We cannot control the world we see. It is not possible to change it through some wishing or hoping or even some great force of will. The way we will change the world is by stopping our attack thoughts. We stop attacking in our minds. So we first recognize the attack thought. We decide we don't want it, and then we let it go. When we have another such thought, we acknowledge it, and then we give it up. And they keep coming. As when we're paying attention to our thoughts, we will see them over and over again, these thoughts of judgment, these thoughts of attack. First, a sense of danger, a sense of anxiety, and then a thought of attack comes to us of some sort or another. Remember that it really doesn't matter which side the attack we seem to be on. It doesn't really matter whether we see ourselves attacking or whether we are perceiving ourselves as being attacked. They're both the same for the purposes of this. We recognize them, Make a decision. I do not want this attack thought. I don't want this attack thought. And then let it go. The world will change by us doing this. The world we perceive will change by us doing this. So I have a practice. I actually have some affirmations. Like I'll have the attack thought, and I sometimes have some affirmations that I will substitute for that attack thought. Right? I would say if I'm worried about a financial situation, for years I used to have these things. I would say I am the beloved son of a rich father. You know, think God, right? And these positive affirmations. But doing this, I don't even need to have a substitute in mind. I don't need to have although sometimes it's helpful, I don't need to have a list of affirmations. If I make a decision that I do not want these attack thoughts, and I release them, God will provide the alternate thought. I don't have to think about what I want it to be. So this is what's going on. We're on this path. We're on this path. And by the way, this is like really important. Everybody's on the path. Nobody's not on the path. So all the people this Sunday that are sitting at other churches, they're on the path too. All the people that aren't sitting at church at all, that are sitting in front of the TV or haven't got out of bed yet, they're on the path too. We are all on the path. We're on the path back to God. And that's just what's happening. Again, this is me talking, right? Accept it or not, it's okay. We're all on the path. But what this path promises is that we can save some time.